Notice, success is not guaranteed for all environments. We are not responsible for any results of this operation. Please back up your data and proceed at your own risk.
So let's talk about the ultimate digital safety net for your PC. We're going to cover how to create a perfect, bootable clone of your entire Windows system. Seriously, think of it as a get-out-of-jail-free card for just about any software disaster you can think of.
Just imagine this for a second. You hit the power button on your computer and nothing happens. Or maybe you get that dreaded blue screen of death. All your files, all your settings, your programs, everything you count on is just gone. It's a total nightmare, right? But it's a nightmare we can absolutely prepare for. And the solution, the hero of our story, is something called a system image. Now, this isn't just backing up your photos and documents. No, this is a perfect snapshot, a complete digital clone of your entire system. We're talking the operating system, all your settings, every program. It's all saved in one neat package, ready to bring your PC right back from the brink.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today. First, we'll talk about preparing for those what-if moments. Then, we're going to walk through the basic backup method that pretty much anyone can use. After that, we'll level up and get into some emergency command line stuff for when things get really serious. And finally, we'll wrap up with the most important tips to make sure your backup actually works when you need it.
All right, first up, preparing for those PC what-ifs. A system image is truly your digital lifesaver. It's what gives you the power to just rewind time whenever your computer decides to have a really bad day.
So let's dive into the most straightforward approach, the one that doesn't require any fancy tricks, using the good old Windows control panel.
You know, the process here is actually way easier than you might think. First, just open up your control panel. You're looking for something called Backup and Restore, Windows 7. Now, don't let that name fool you. It works perfectly fine on Windows 10 and 11. On the left side, you'll see Create a System Image. Give that a click. Then just pick your external hard drive, make sure your C drive is checked, and hit Start Backup. That's it. Windows takes it from there.
Okay, so that was the easy way. But what happens when Windows won't even start? I mean, you can't exactly click through the control panel if you can't even get to your desktop, right? This is where we need a much more powerful tool.
Now, don't let this next part scare you. The command line is your absolute best friend in an emergency. Think of it as the manual override that lets you take direct control and save your system when the normal, pretty interface just isn't an option.
The tool we're going to use is called wbadmin. It's this powerful little utility that's already built into Windows for exactly this kind of crisis. Yeah, I know, it looks a little technical, but let's break down what each part of this command is actually doing.
So wbadmin start backup, that's easy. It just tells the computer to start. Next, dash backup target F specifies where you want to save the backup, in this case, our F drive. The dash quiet part just tells it to run without asking you a bunch of questions. But here, the most important piece, the real secret sauce, is dash allCritical. This is what tells the backup to include every single thing that Windows needs to boot up correctly.
Okay, hold on, because this next part is a massive, critical warning. When you boot into the Windows recovery environment, that special mode for fixing things, your drive letters can get all mixed up. See, that little recovery system loads before your main Windows, so it might see your C drive and decide to call it D or E or whatever. And if you point your backup command to the wrong drive letter, it's just going to fail. So how do you avoid that potential disaster? It's actually really simple. Before you run anything else, you just type diskpart and hit Enter. Then type list volume and hit Enter again. This will pop up a list of all your drives and what letters they're currently using. Just double-check which letter is your Windows drive and which is your external backup drive, and then you can run the backup command with confidence. All right, we've covered the how-to part. Now let's talk about the golden rules, the things you need to do to make sure your backup is reliable and will actually save you when you need it most.
This one is huge. Your backup absolutely must be on a completely separate physical drive. Never, ever save it to a different partition on the same hard disk. Why? Well, think about it. If that whole disk dies, which is a really common hardware failure, you lose both your original system and your only backup. The whole thing becomes useless.
And rule number 2 is non-negotiable. I know I've said it, but I have to say it again. You must use the allCritical switch. It's so tempting to just tell it to back up your C drive using include C, but that is a trap. It'll create a backup that you can't actually boot from because Windows needs all those other little hidden partitions to start up. allCritical is the magic wand that grabs all of them automatically.
And finally, just a few quick bits of good practice. First, make sure your external drive has plenty of free space. These images can get pretty big. Second, try to create new images regularly, maybe once a month or so, just to keep them fresh. And remember this crucial detail. When you restore from an image, it will wipe the drive clean. Any files you created after you made that backup will be gone. So you still need to back up your important documents separately.
So I'll leave you with this one question. Now that you know how to create the ultimate safety net for your digital life, from the easy-peasy method to the pro-level emergency technique, when was your last full system backup? Thanks for tuning in.
Imagine this for a second. It's Tuesday morning, 9:00 a.m. sharp. You've got this massive deadline at noon.
Okay.
You sit down with your coffee, press the power button on your PC, the fans spin up, and then nothing. Just a blinking cursor on a black screen.
Oh, I know that feeling.
Or worse, you get that dreaded blue screen of death, and it just loops. Reboot, blue screen, reboot, blue screen.
That is a very specific frequency of panic you're describing. That's the sound of a bad morning turning into a catastrophic week.
Exactly. And that's usually the moment people realize that backing up your files is not the same thing as backing up your computer.
It's really not.
I mean, if your hard drive physically fails or the operating system corrupts itself, having your spreadsheets safe in the cloud doesn't help you get the machine running again.
Nope. You're still stuck.
You still have to reinstall Windows, reinstall all your apps, reconfigure your Wi-Fi, your printer drivers. Honestly, it's a nightmare.
It is. You're hitting on a crucial distinction there. The difference between backing up data and backing up state. Most people are pretty good about data these days.
Right.
But today, we're talking about backing up the state. The entire brain of the computer.
We are doing a deep dive into the concept of the system image backup. We've pulled together a stack of technical docs, Microsoft support articles, and even some deep-cut forum discussions to figure this out.
And the mission here is really specific. We want to show you how to build a safety net that lets you restore your computer to exactly how it was yesterday in about 20 minutes.
Without reinstalling a single driver.
Exactly.
And the best part, the sources point out that you don't need to buy any fancy third-party software. The tools are already built into Windows. They're just, well, let's say they're hiding in plain sight.
They are definitely hiding. And we have two distinct paths to cover today based on the materials. There's the sunny day method using the standard graphical interface.
Okay.
And then there's the stormy weather method.
Yeah.
The command line secret weapon for when the graphics won't even load.
Let's start with a sunny day then. The sources highlight something that I found honestly hilarious. If you want to find this robust enterprise-grade backup tool in Windows 10 or Windows 11, where does Microsoft hide it?
You have to dig into the control panel.
Yeah.
And not the modern settings app with the sleek icons.
No.
We are talking about the old school control panel. And you're looking for a header that says backup and restore. Windows 7.
Windows 7. We are in the mid-2020s, and the safety net is named after an operating system from 2009. It's like buying a new electric car and finding out the spare tires from a Model T.
It is a bit of a relic, isn't it? But it's a classic case of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The underlying tech, the VHD image creation, was perfected back then.
So they just left it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Microsoft has moved on to cloud backups like OneDrive for your files.
Yeah.
So they stopped polishing the interface for system backups. But the engine underneath is still solid.
So to get there, you hit the Windows key, search for a control panel.
Ignoring all the modern settings suggestions.
Right. Find that Windows 7 link. Once you click Create a System Image on the left, it asks you where you want to store this massive snapshot.
And the sources list DVDs, network folders, or external hard drives. I assume DVDs are a non-starter these days.
I would hope so, unless you enjoy feeding discs into a drive for 4 hours like a jukebox.
Yeah, avoid DVDs. Network folders are great if you have a NAS, but for the average user, the source is clear. Get a big, dedicated external USB hard drive.
And big is the operative word here, right? We need to manage expectations about storage.
Right. A system image captures everything required for Windows to run. That means the Windows folder, program files, your user data. I mean, depending on your setup, we are talking 50, 100, maybe 500 gigabytes.
So don't try to put this on that little thumb drive you have.
Please don't.
Now, when you run this tool, it defaults to selecting the C drive. That makes sense. There's a massive caveat in the documentation about the restore process, the wipe risk. This part actually scared me a little.
This is the part that burns people who don't read the fine print. A system image restore is a block-level replacement. It does not merge your old data with the backup.
It just wipes it.
It wipes the target drive clean and lays down the backup image right on top of it.
So let's play this out. If I make a backup on Monday, and on Wednesday I write the first chapter of my amazing new novel, and then on Friday my computer crashes.
If you restore using the Monday backup, the novel is gone. It never existed. You are literally rewinding the timeline of your hard drive to Monday.
Wow. That is a crucial distinction. It's not a time machine where you can pick and choose files.
No, it's a total reset.
Which suggests the strategy here should be use system images for your base configuration, but use something else for your daily work.
Precisely. That is the hybrid approach the pros use. Use the system image to save yourself the pain of reinstalling Windows and all your apps, the heavy lifting.
And use OneDrive or Dropbox or something else for the actual novel you're writing.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the click and go method. Great if your computer's working fine. But let's set the scene for the second path, the pro way.
The pro way.
Let's say the graphical interface freezes. Or maybe Windows is so messed up you can't even get to the control panel, the mouse isn't moving. What do we do then?
This is where we turn to the command line, specifically a tool called wbadmin.
wbadmin. Sounds like a secret code.
It stands for Windows Backup Admin. It's a powerful tool that runs underneath all the pretty windows and icons.
And the source material gives us a very specific command to run.
Yes, the command is wbadmin start backup.
But it's not that simple. There are these things called flags you have to add.
Right, you can't just tell it to back
We
up.
have to tell it how and where. The first flag is pretty obvious. Backup target.
Like a target on a map.
Exactly. You type backup target, followed by the drive letter. So if your external drive is the E drive, you type backup target, E.
Easy enough. Then there's up quiet. I assume that just tells it to be quiet. Not exactly.
Huh.
It tells the computer to stop asking you questions. Without it, the system will prompt you, "Are you sure? Do you really want to do this?"
And when you're in a crisis, you just want it to work.
Exactly. So quiet runs the command without all the nagging.
Okay, now here is where it gets really interesting. The sources put a huge emphasis on one specific flag. They call it the MVP.
Yes. This is the most important part of this entire discussion. If you take one thing away from this deep dive, let it be this flag. allCritical.
Why is that so vital? I mean, my stuff is on C, so I'd probably just tell it include C. Why is that a trap?
Because Windows is complex. It doesn't just live on C. When you install it, Windows creates these hidden partitions you never see, things like the EFI partition, the system reserve, the recovery partition.
The keys to the ignition.
Exactly. They contain the bootloader. If you just back up C, you are backing up the engine, but you're leaving the keys behind.
So if your drive fails and you restore just C, the computer won't turn on.
It'll just say no boot device found.
That is terrifying, to go through all that work and still fail.
It happens more often than you think. Using allCritical tells Windows, I don't care what you think I need. Scan the system, find everything required to boot, and grab it.
It ensures you have a true bare metal recovery image.
Bare metal recovery. It means you could buy a brand new empty hard drive bare metal and restore your entire computer onto it exactly as it was.
But only if you used allCritical.
Only if you used allCritical.
That is a huge distinction. Now, speaking of traps, there's another scenario the source walks us through. We're calling this the danger zone.
This is a very specific, very stressful situation.
We're talking about the Windows recovery environment, where this is when your computer is so broken you have to boot into that special troubleshooting mode.
Right, you're in the trenches now. You've booted off a USB stick because the main drive won't load.
The source mentions a user who wants to back up their C drive to their F drive while in this mode. Simple, right? But there's a twist.
The twist is that in the recovery environment, Windows plays a game of musical chairs with your drive letters.
Wait, so my C drive might not be my C drive.
Exactly. The recovery environment is a mini OS running from RAM. It just assigns letters as it sees the drives. It might see your recovery partition first and call that C. Your actual Windows drive might become D.
Oh, that sounds like a recipe for disaster. If I blindly type backup to F, because that's what I'm used to.
And F is actually your tiny system reserved partition.
Yeah.
You're going to have a bad time. You'll get an insufficient space error or worse.
So what's the fix? The source provides a solution using a tool called diskpart.
Diskpart. It's like a surgeon's tool for drives.
Yeah.
The source outlines a strict procedure here. Before you run your backup command, you type diskpart and hit enter.
Okay, so we're inside diskpart. Then what?
Then you type list volume.
List volume, and that shows you everything connected.
It lists every volume, every partition, and crucially, their size and their current letter.
So you have to play detective. You can't trust the letter, but you can trust the size.
Exactly. Gigabytes don't lie. You look at the list and you say, okay, this volume is 500 gigabytes. That's my internal SSD. Winor, he's called it D. And this one is 2 terabytes. That's my external drive. Winor has called it G.
And once you've confirmed which is which,
You type exit to leave diskpart. Now you can run your wbadmin command with confidence, knowing you are backing up D to G, even though yesterday it was C to F.
that is such a critical tip. I can see so many people skipping that step and panicking.
It's the measure twice, cut once rule of data recovery.
Now, there are a couple of other critical rules the source mentions. One of them involves locking your keys in the house.
Yes, the same disk error. The source is very clear. You cannot save the backup to the same physical disk you are backing up.
I mean, that makes sense logically, but I can see people trying it. They partition their drive in two and think, I'll put the backup on the second half.
Right, but if that physical drive fails, if the motor dies, you lose the OS and the backup. It's useless.
So, separate physical media is a must. Okay, let's say we've done everything right. We ran the command, used allCritical, checked with diskpart. The black box of code finishes. How do we know it actually worked?
You don't just hope for the best, you verify.
And the source gives us a verification command.
Right. It's wbadmin get versions -backup target.f or whatever your target drive letter is.
And what does that show you?
It asks the backup drive, what do you have stored? If it was successful, it will print out a confirmation with a date and timestamp.
Backup time, January 29th, 10:42 a.m.
Exactly. Seeing that timestamp is your green light. That is the only time you should actually relax.
That's the sigh of relief moment. So we've covered the how-to, but the whole point of a safety net is using it. Let's talk about restoration.
Right. The crash has happened. You have your backup. How do we get it back on the computer?
The source outlines the process. First, obviously, you restart. But you can't just restart normally.
No. You need to boot from something that works. Your Windows installation media, that USB stick, or a specific recovery drive.
Once you plug that in and boot from it, you get the setup screen. But we aren't installing Windows, are we?
No, do not click Install Now. You look for the small text in the corner that says Repair Your Computer.
From there, you go to Troubleshoot, Advanced Options, and look for System Image Recovery.
If you're using the GUI method to restore, yes, it will scan your external drive, find that image we made, and ask you to confirm. It's pretty straightforward from there.
And if we're strictly using the command line, maybe the mouse is still broken?
Then you go back to the command prompt in that same menu and use the sister command. Instead of start backup, it's wbadmin start sys recovery.
Sys recovery. Sounds serious.
It is. You specify the backup target where the image lives, and it initiates that bare metal restore we talked about.
It just wipes the current broken state and overlays the healthy image.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so effective against viruses or deep system corruption. You aren't fixing the problem. You're erasing the timeline where the problem happened.
So what does this all mean for the average listener? We've covered a lot of technical ground here.
I think the big takeaway is that Windows has two faces. There's the friendly face, the GUI in the control panel, which is great for routine maintenance.
Everyone should check that out.
For sure, it's easy, it works. But then there's the serious face.
The wbadmin command line.
That is your lifeline when the interface fails. Understanding that you can control the computer with text commands, specifically using allCritical, changes you from a helpless user into someone who can save their own digital life.
It's about agency. Instead of being a passenger, you become the mechanic.
Exactly. And realizing that drive letters are just temporary labels. That was a huge point in the source material.
Absolutely. The diskpart trick is something even seasoned pros sometimes forget.
It's a logic puzzle in the middle of a crisis. And solving it is the only way to ensure you're targeting the right drive.
So here is a final provocative thought for you to mull over. We rely on these machines for everything, our work, our memories. But if your screen went black right now and you had to type diskpart into a command prompt, would you know what your drive sizes look like?
That's a scary question.
Would you be able to pick your hard drive out of a lineup just by its storage capacity? Is your C drive 512 gigs? Is it a terabyte? Because if you are staring at a list of generic volumes in that black box, that number is the only lifeline you have.
Yeah, that's a good point. Know your hardware.
Before you need to know it, I'd encourage everyone listening, maybe plug in an external drive today. Go find that Windows 7 menu in your control panel. Just see where it is. Memorize your drive size. It's better to know where the fire extinguisher is before you smell smoke.
Couldn't agree more.
That's all for this deep dive. Thanks for exploring the depths of the Windows backup system with us.
Always a pleasure.
Stay safe, back up your data, and we'll catch you on the next one.